But why would he do anything, given that this is likely political? I believe that. I know you believe that. Why would he do anything to slow down the trial, which is much better for him if it happens right before the election and all the bad news is on the front page of the paper every day, and ideally a conviction in his mind would be, on the paper before the election?
Well, that's a really good question. And I think because they want for both of these cases, and then of course what's coming in Fulton County, Georgia, it will be death by 1,000 cuts. So it will be to override any negative coverage or anything happening with the Biden presidential campaign. This will be the focus of the media. And once the trial happens, then there will be appeals, et cetera. But as they continue to add charges, continue to add defendants, not just in the January 6th case, but also classified documents, this sucks out all the oxygen. A trial would be very dramatic. It will be extremely problematic for Donald Trump in Washington, D.C., as you just pointed out, not just the biased jury pool, but I'll tell you, you'd be hard pressed to find a worse judge for Donald Trump than Judge Tanya Chutkan. I sat in a court hearing, sentencing hearing with her. The open contempt she has for Donald Trump in January 6th and Trump supporters, I felt it. It was just oozing out of her in this hearing. And she sentenced a man, and she was mad that he went to trial on 4 misdemeanors. And she scolded him for going to trial instead of taking a plea, because she has like the most plea arrangements because no one wants to go before her in court. And he had the audacity to go to trial. Of course, he was convicted, and she sentenced him to a year in prison on 4 misdemeanors. He was inside the Capitol for 11 minutes, Megyn. So this is what Donald Trump is going up against, not just Jack Smith, but now Tanya Chutkan as the judge is really bad news for Team Trump.
D.C. went 92% plus for Joe Biden in the last election, 2020. Only 5+% for Donald Trump. 5. I mean, he's going to be looking at a jury pool that's likely still going to be wearing masks that read vote. I mean,
they are.
That's just terrifying. And a lot of people saying, well, you move for a change of venue, saying I can't possibly get a fair trial here. You've been following that very closely too. How's that likely to go?
Every single judge has denied every change of venue motion in every case. And Megyn, this includes high-profile cases like the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers, who, think about this, as they were getting national televised attention from the January 6th committee, basically Congress blaming them for what happened on January 6th in televised nighttime hearings. They're undergoing jury selection in those trials. And even then, especially the Proud Boys, because the J6 committee really focused in on the Proud Boys. When the defense team brought that to Judge Tim Kelly, a Trump appointed judge, by the way, he said that there was no conflict. The J6 committee report dropped, I think it was the day after jury selection began in the Proud Boys case. I mean, they just are nothing more than a rubber stamp for this DOJ. And so that's why it'll be interesting to see how this proceeds. Of course, he will file a change of venue motion. He might have a stronger case. She will deny it, of course. But if he appeals it, not just based on the jury pool, but based on her own comments in sentencing hearings, and especially to your point, that ruling denying him executive privilege in the January 6th committee and forcing him to produce all of his documents.
It just looks so bad for Trump. It looks so bad for him, irrespective of the merits. You and I both know this judge is going to be against him. The jury's going to be against him. And if he doesn't get a favorable ruling from the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals or the Supreme Court on the motion practice, he's looking at an almost certain conviction on a charge or charges that could put him in prison for the rest of his life.
Megyn, one thing that Dave was talking about, and I think it's important to address, is this obstruction of an official proceeding felony, this 1512C2, that is a post-Enron statute that deals with tampering with evidence and witnesses. Now, this is the first time in 20 years that it's been applied in this manner, but over 300 individuals have been charged with it. There have been numerous convictions, but it did go to the appellate court. Actually, there was only one DC judge who dismissed this count against a few defendants. And after he did it the second time, DOJ appealed this judge's dismissal of the obstruction of an official proceeding count. It went to the appellate court, a 3-judge panel, in what one judge called a splintered ruling. It certainly was not clear at all. You had Judge Florence Pan, who is a Biden-appointed judge. She wrote what was basically the majority opinion, saying that, yes, it does apply. Another judge was kind of in between, and then George Gregory Katsas, who was a Trump-appointed judge, outright dissented. The full appellate court refused to hold another hearing, and now 2 counsels for defendants, J6 defendants, have filed a petition before the Supreme Court.
This summer, big box retailers are seeking a massive big government handout from Congress, paid for by consumers, smaller financial institutions, community banks, and local credit unions. That's according to the Electronics Payment Coalition, a sponsor of today's episode. It's called the Credit Card Competition Act, aka the Big Box Bill. Mega retailers are in favor of it, but the Electronics Payment Coalition is not. They say this big box bill would actually transfer billions from consumers to retailers through eliminating popular credit card rewards programs, weakening cybersecurity protections, and reducing overall access to credit for people who need it most. You can visit stopthebigboxbaitandSwitch.com to learn more. That's stopthebigboxbaitandSwitch.com. The link is in the description. Learn more, and if you want to help them, tell your legislator to stand up to the retail giants and to support consumers and small businesses. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.